I'm super excited to talk to Nikki Lanier today. Nikki, tell us about yourself and what you do.
Happy to. I am an internationally recognized racial equity strategist. I help organizations understand the economic urgency of cultivating environments where Black and Brown talent can thrive. And then I also run coaching programs for women who are interested in creating a world where racism can't live.
Nikki, and that is such an unbelievably important area. Tell us a little bit more how you got to that place. What is your journey and how did you get to this seat that you do so well?
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the question. I'm going to answer that twofold. So first, let's talk about kind of the academic and professional credentialing that gave rise to um, the way that I approach my work. So I started out practicing labor and employment law in South Florida. I went to the law school at the University of Miami and really enjoyed my time there, understanding labor and employment law more deeply, practiced in that area for several years. And then really the bulk of my career has been in human resources. So I've worked for public sector and private sector, East Coast and West Coast of the US. And I've been the chief HR officer for three different organizations, learning so much about how work works, when and where it restores, when and how it depletes, what we expect from work, what we need to be fed, what we need work to feed us, and what happens over time, Stephanie, when those breaches metastasize in ways that we can't talk about, especially along lines of difference. And then for 7 years, fortuitously, I found myself working for the Federal Reserve Bank. Um, the United States Central Bank, and not in an HR or legal capacity. I did macroeconomics and monetary policy, complete departure from what I had done before. But that academic and professional preparedness really helped me to understand how to take diversity, equity, and inclusion principles and nestle them inside of economic imperatives in ways that really reach a lot of the corporate organizations with whom we work. But let me also spend just a few seconds talking about my personal life, and that is as equally important in giving rise to who I am today in this work. And I'm the only child born to two amazing college professors, both of whom spent most of their careers on HBCU Black college campuses. I grew up on the campus of Hampton University, where I matriculated. And so I am a child birthed from that kind of foundation. Both of my parents were very involved in the civil rights movement here in the United States in the 60s. And so their lessons and their understanding of how the world works informed mine. And this assignment that I now carry to help assure that their work was not in vain.
Nikki, thank you so much. What an incredible story. Nikki, what do you think is your main motivator going forwards?
Um, Again, I have two. My main motivator, well, I have two. One motivator is really the economic well-being of our country. So I am extraordinarily worried about what happens to a civilized society. How might it maintain the sense of civility when the majority of its citizen body have no real experience with the fundamentals of how the economy works? And that is because of the narrative that's been assigned to that demographic majority. And as you know, Stephanie, the world is browning. We are becoming blacker and browner everywhere. And that is absolutely true in the United States. It is projected by 2045, will be majority minority, specifically Black people and Hispanic people. And so that is the same population that we only know how to marginalize, mute, and stunt. So that has economic consequences. And then from a more ethereal standpoint, I just want wrongs to be righted. I want us to understand what it would actually feel like to live in a world where racism is snuffed out, where the oxygen that it breathes is just withheld from it. I don't know that any of us can say that we know what that world would feel like, and I desperately want to know that, or at least for my grandchildren.
Yes, and I feel we almost need to pause here to let that sink in because these are very powerful and very important messages. And so yes, and thank you for that, Nikki. Nikki, what would you say are your top qualities that make you so good at what you do, that drive this passionate purpose forward to really bring about social and economic change?
Uh, I keep answering in these two, Stephanie. I have two things. One is my relatability, and the second is my kindness. And so my disposition, my nature is to connect at human levels. In the name of inclusion, I cannot exclude. In the name of advancing equity, I can't inflict harm. You know, racial equity, in my opinion, treats wounds. It doesn't inflict them. And yet, because so much of what we are experiencing around trying to now massage these discussions around Black and white and racism and not racism, so much of that is informed by so much trauma. We don't even know how to have those conversations together in meaningful ways, and that aren't divisive and harmful themselves and hurtful unnecessarily. The language that we use sometimes feels a little reckless, and we're not all that sophisticated in finding ways to bring these principles into hearts and minds. And so there's a lot of exhaustion. And so anyway, so I just really see myself, part of my greatest skill set is my relatability. And then I am just genuinely a kind person. And that informs how patient I am and how studious I am of, you know, kind of meeting people where they are and understanding that at its core, especially on this topic, we are all a sum total of what we've been taught. And that the narrative of Black and brown being tantamount to deficit is a very loud narrative, and it's been one that's been with us for so many centuries. And so I understand that, and it is with that sense of relatability and that kindness that I couple my professional credentialing and my personal passion into the way that I engage with my clients on this work.
Nikki, what are you most proud of to date?
Oh, I'm most proud of and excited about our leaning in as a corporate body, my businesses. We are leaning in to the understanding that we, meaning women, and specifically Black women and white women, can really, should really, ought really work together to create this world that I think we all envision. And for many years, it has been the consternation between Black women and white women on the issue of racism that I think has stymied us. And so now I'm excited about this new program I'm rolling out with my company called the RAARE Woman Collective, which is it's a program suite specifically for white women, designed by Black women to help white women become greater racial equity advocates in every space they hold. That is home, in the community, and in the workplace. And I'm super excited about this model, Stephanie, because it's unprecedented. This idea of an elongated, relationship-based, very supportive and nurturing, like really strong emphasis on education based program curated by Black women, specifically for white women. I don't know that I've seen a model like that. And so we're launching this year, November 2nd through 4th, in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. And we're having 200 women from all over the world who are coming in for this unprecedented convening. So we're very excited to start and launch this work in November.
Well, we are gonna sign up ASAP as from the She Can Front. And thank you, Nikki, for talking about this, because we're thinking about that a lot here at our headquarters. And it's really how can we fix the sister system? Because I feel exactly that. I think we have a lot in common. We have historically and up to this day, we struggle under the patriarchy in many of the same ways. And I have absolutely no tolerance anymore for women that don't stick for other women, no matter what their background is. So thank you for mentioning that. And I'd love to talk to you more about that. But Nikki, what top tips would you give to us women, as in sisters around the world? How can we learn, listen, integrate better?
Yeah, couple things. So I'd say first and foremost, recognize that this whole issue, this undertaking around advocacy, is our birthright. And it is one that we are, in my opinion, uniquely suited for. Women are, we see us ascending in amazingly powerful positions in our corporate spaces, in our work lives. We're building businesses, we're growing in other businesses. And that is a very powerful place to leverage an orientation around racial equity to inform vision, to inform strategy, to inform how you build capability with your teams, both individually and collectively. We also see that women have a very powerful position that I believe that we under leverage, and that is just the position of mom, the position of wife, the position of daughter and aunt and niece. We have a lens of femininity that helps us very carefully navigate our loved ones, particularly our male loved ones, through outcomes, and through various realities. We help people see what cannot be seen. We oftentimes speak into existence what must be manifest for our families and for our communities. We can absolutely leverage that together in furtherance of racial equity. And last thing I'd say specifically for white women is that there is power and currency and your proximity specifically to white men who, on the topic of racial equity, the work that I do, and I know the work that you love, and we all do on some level, who on the topic of racial equity have to be moved. They just have to be. And it is inexcusable that so many feel as though this is a doctrine that only brings them condemnation and criticism. And it's a doctrine that they feel they have no relatability to other than to always be positioned as the villain in the story. And so we have to really be mindful of how to leverage all three of those P's: power, proximity, and position, in furtherance of this work.
Thank you so much for that. Really super good tips, Nikki, and so important. Nikki, so what are your plans and goals and dreams? We've heard about the Rare Women's Collective. What's in store for you and your company, Harper Slade?
Harper Slade, yeah, we're growing. We are right now among the fastest growing racial equity firms in the US. And so we're super, super excited about that. It's blessings that are abounding. And so we're looking to grow our client complement, our client mix in 2024. We're looking to build out our programs around coaching. I mentioned, of course, the Rare Women Collective, but we also have another program called the Slade Woman, SLAYED, and that is specifically for Black women who are looking for respite and development as they're navigating corporate spaces. And so I have a team of amazing Black women, female coaches who are coaching these amazing cohort of Black women and that very intricate navigation. So we're growing in all of our programs. We're growing in our presence. We're growing in our share of voice and the amplification of our expertise and our nuanced specialty around the blending of work, race, and economics. That's a pretty interesting blend. So we're really growing in all of those respects, and just we're excited about the rest of 2023 and what 2024 has in store.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nikki, for talking to me today and for this really inspiring conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Stephanie.